Greetings for the day. I hope you're all doing well and staying safe. Today we will discuss about a topic from chapter number 4, e-commerce, m-commerce and emerging technologies, and the topic is grid computing. We are going to discuss about on these 5 topics. One is what is grid computing, will be covered under definition part, and what are all the types of resources that can be shared in grid computing technology, and what are all the benefits of grid computing, and the application areas of grid computing, means currently in which areas the grid computing technology have been used, and last but not least, what are all the security considerations that need to be taken into account if you are implementing grid computing. Okay, so the topic is very simple, but I'll try to make you give more and more practical examples, and I will also show some of the video clips to make you understand the concept much easier. Okay, without much further delay, let's get started. Before we discuss the definition part, I would like to play a movie clip from one of the Hollywood movie, and the movie name is Fantastic Four, where the story is about 4 superheroes. So hopefully you will understand what is meant by a superhero. So they have some additional powers or unnatural powers than the regular human beings. Like one person can convert himself like a power, one person can disappear, and other can stretch himself like a rubber, and the fourth member has power like a rock. So the movie clip is all about how they utilized their powers. Okay. People who already watched this movie, they'll be able to easily follow up the clip, but for the sake of people who haven't watched, I'll just give a quick backdrop to this scene, and then we will continue to watch the clip. So in this particular scene, they are supposed to save the world. That is what superheroes always does, right? uh, in that case, they tried their level best individually to fight against the villain, but as the villain is very powerful, they are unable to do it. So how they fought against the villain is about this scene. Let's see now.
He is here.
Reed.
Victor's got to have a pulse emitter linking him to his board. We take it out, we can separate him from his board. He's too strong for me.
I could wail on him if I could get close enough that he could see me coming from a mile away.
It would take all of us. Or maybe just one of us. We don't know what it could do to you. Let's not make this about me. To quote a friend of mine, it's clobbering time.
You ain't going down fighting, kid. Not without me.
Okay, what we observed from the clip, they clubbed or they united all their individual strengths, and then he could able to fight against the villain, right? So this is the takeaway I want you to grasp from that video clip. Now let us get into the topic and then see how this why I have shown this video clip. You will be able to understand the definition. Grid computing is a computer network in which each computer resources are shared with every other computer in the system. Okay, so we know what is a computer network means. It's a collection of computers, and what they are doing, so they are sharing their resources. What are all the resources they are going to share, we will discuss, like even in our topic, second topic is about types of resources. What they are doing, they are sharing with every other computer in the system. So why they are sharing? Okay, it's a distributed architecture of large number of computers connected to solve a complex problem. Okay, here is the catch point. So all the computers which are in the network, they are sharing their resources to solve a complex problem. Okay, now in the grid computing model, servers are personal computers, run independent tasks, and are loosely linked by the internet or low speed networks. In summarized way, so all these computers are connected via internet. So this is what the definition for grid computing. Now if you remember the video clip what I have shown, all the four people or four superheroes, they all have individual powers, but in order to fight against a powerful, much powerful than them, what they have done, they clubbed their powers and then they'll be able to fight against it, right? This is a similar backdrop the grid computing means. So the computers are clubbed together to solve a complex problem. Okay, now so this is a diagrammatic representation of how a grid computing can exist. If you see in this diagram, there is a control server. Okay, one server will be there. So these are all called nodes. All of them are computers. Okay, these are all called computers, and these are all connected via internet. And each of them is called nodes. Okay, one will be called server, control server, and rest of all the machines called nodes. Okay, so what it does, this control server manages the tasks, and which task has to give to which node, how to distribute the task, all these things are managed by the control server. Okay, but anyway, don't worry, we have to discuss a lot on grid computing. I just want to make you understand pictorially. So this is how the grid computing exists. So a lot of computers are connected with each other via internet to solve a complex problem. So this is what the definition says. Now I will also show one more video practically how grid computing works. Let us have a quick look on this video as well.
What if you could analyze huge data sets instantaneously? Run scenarios not hundreds, but thousands of times. Bring teams together to radically reduce time to market, all while increasing productivity. You might think you owned a supercomputer, and in today's on-demand world, it can feel like you need one, just to get the detailed results, always faster, always more accurately, that make you competitive in the marketplace. The good news? IT components you may already own, mainframes, Unix servers, Intel servers, databases, storage systems, even desktop computers and workstations, harbor enormous untapped processing and storage power. Power you can easily start pulling together and dedicating to your most pressing business problems. This is IBM Grid Computing. How does grid computing unleash the power of existing systems? The typical IT deployment. Before grid, a powerful application runs on a designated server. During peak cycles, that server can get overworked and the application can slow, wait, even stall. Meanwhile, a large data set, which this application is analyzing, lives in a single data store. Server capacity and access to the data store place extreme limitations on how quickly output can be returned. Cycles on other servers are sitting idle. Unused disk capacity remains unavailable. In a grid deployment, workload can be broken up and sent in manageable pieces to idle server cycles. A scheduler sets rules and priorities for routing the job. When servers and storage are enabled for grid, copies of the data can be stored in formerly unused space and made easily available. Some grids focus on data federation and availability. Others focus on computing speed. Many involve a combination of the two. Either way, results can be outputted in near real time, on demand. For users, all infrastructure complexity stays completely hidden. The feeling is simple and seamless. And this simple grid deployment can be scaled to bring in other applications with new data, both within and across organizations. Teams come together to get better answers to difficult questions. Daunting problems yield immediate results. Gains in speed and accuracy, without significant cost increases, translate to real competitive advantages in the marketplace. How can your business reap the benefits of grid computing? Step by step. An IBM Grid Innovation Workshop.
This video very well summarizes what a grid computing and how you can leverage grid computing technology. In that you would have already followed the example, but again I am just reiterating once again. So what they have done, see, this is one of the example what they talked about, and especially from the commercial point of view, means within the corporate point of view, and there are another ways also to leverage this grid computing. So all those things we will be discussing on the application areas of grid computing. Some of the examples how this grid computing was leveraged. So in this example what they have done, so they have total 3 servers, okay, server A, server B, server C. So currently this server has a 10% utilization rate. That means only 10% of the day they utilize this server. This server is currently idle, means they are not utilizing for some reason, and this server is having huge request. So what happens at a time, sometimes this server is reaching its maximum capacity. Like say each server has a capacity it can meet, right? But sometimes what happens, it goes with the full capacity. Okay, due to that, when so many requests or data needs to be processed by a single server, the speed and accuracy also sometimes go wrong. So how you can manage? Either to increase the capacity of server A. This is one option. Okay, increase the capacity. Means example, if it has i5 processor, you keep i7 processor. If it has 1 TB data storage, maybe you can buy 2 TB or a 3 TB data storage. So like this, based on the need, you can spend the additional amount and increase the capability. And also even in that scenario also, sometimes there will be some restrictions to it. Instead of doing all these things, what they can do, as they already spent money on the server B and server C, right? And currently server C has only 10% utilization. That means remaining 90% of the day it is idle, whereas server B is completely idle. Okay, why can't we use this unutilized capacity? So this is what the grid computing basically. So these two servers have unutilized capacity. Okay, what they does, once they connect all these servers in a grid computing model, going forward they can do multiple ways. Okay, when the requests are coming to this server, as A server was connected to B and C, either it can take capacities from server B and C and process the transactions. That is one way of managing work. The other way of managing work, split the work into to all the 3 servers. Okay, so when they are splitting, of course the load is shared between these 3 machines instead of one machine. Obviously the performance and accuracy will be increased. So due to this model, what are all the advantages we have? We are not spending anything extra. All we are doing was unutilized resources, we are making sure that these have been put in use. Okay, so this is a simple concept of grid computing. Now let's move on further. Now, as you got the basic idea of grid computing, what are all the resources that can be shared using this concept or using this grid computing technology? Now, a grid is a collection of machines, sometimes referred as nodes. Okay, as we have seen in the previous diagram, there are multiple computers connected to the internet. So each of the computer called node, or it can be called resource, members, donors, clients or host, right? Many other terms it can be called, and they all contribute any combination of resources to the grid as a whole. Okay, now the first kind of resources that can be shared is their computational powers. Like in the previous example I showed, so server A, server B, server C. Okay, they can share the CPUs, like computational powers. So their processing capacity can be shared so that they can solve the job or a complex problem which is on hand. Even in this previous example, I already given two types of sharing. What is that? One sharing was uh, splitting the job between all the three nodes. That is one way of doing it. The another one was A alone will take the capacities from B and C and then try to solve the problem. Okay, that there is another third application, which is what example, a particular job has to run multiple times. If A alone has to run multiple times, instead of that it sends to the all the nodes which are on the grid to execute the application at the same time. Okay, see, basically if you need to do 10 jobs at same time, what you do, you do job number 1, and then once you finish you do job number 2 and then job 3. Instead of that, if you have two more people along with you, all three can do the job at the same time. Okay, so these are all the different ways the jobs can be shared or the computational powers can be shared. Now what is the next resource that can be shared is storage capacity. Okay, so as we all know, we basically have a primary storage and a secondary storage. Primary storage is RAM, okay, a temporary memory, whereas which is required to run the applications, right? Whereas the secondary storage is basically to store the data and to store the application softwares and all those stuff. So even these can be shared because they are all connected in the grid. And then communications, the third component that can be shared in the grid computing, is also on the bandwidth part. Example, this A server has a network connectivity of 100 Mbps and B have 200 Mbps, and it also have some 100 Mbps. When they connected with each other, as we understood, A alone requires huge bandwidth to process the data, and also we know that B and C was not utilized currently, so those bandwidth can be shared to A. So like this, now the total speed, it can be 100 plus 200 plus 100, total 400 Mbps can be utilized by server A alone in the given point of time. So that is the another type of resource. And then fourth one was software and licenses. Basically, whenever you need to procure a software, you need to buy a number of licenses, right? Means it can be installed on one machine or 3 users. Basically we see these kind of things at our personal level. The antivirus softwares, whenever you are buying an antivirus software, it says that it is for 1 user and 3 users, like that. If you buy 1 user license, it might cost you, let's say 1000 rupees, whereas if you buy 3 user license, it will not cost 3000, they might charge only 1500, so that per person it costs only 500, right? So the same concept you can leverage in the grid computing also. Let's say there is one software which is installed on A server. Okay, as B and C also connected to the A server, they can access the same software and get the job done. In this concept, with one single license, even both B and C also makes the job done. Okay, so this is another type of resource that can be shared. And apart from this, the last topic is special equipment, capacities, architectures and policies. Means what they can do, as these all machines are connected with each other, you can also make a policy, right? Okay, out of these three machines, two machines are supposed to do a particular job always. The third machine can be done on a ad hoc basis. So these kind of policies you can draft, and then accordingly ensure that whenever that particular category of job came, only these two servers can be utilized. So in this way you can share your resources in the grid computing model. So I hope you understood the concept. Now let's move on to the next topic. What are all the benefits of grid computing? The first one was making use of underutilized resources. This point was very clear to us. In the example I have shown server A, B and C. So as B and C was not utilized, we are trying to make utilize of their existing capacity without any further investment. Then resource balancing. So what does that mean? By scheduling grid jobs and machines with low utilization. This is also covered in our example where A alone getting lot of requests, as B and C are idle, we are scheduling the jobs to move on some of the workload to B and C, so that you are making sure that the resources are utilized and also the job is managed. Then parallel CPU capacity. So actually these first 3 points are covered under types of resources, the computational resource sharing examples. There are three ways they can share their resources, right? The parallel CPU capacity, in example of, let's say you have 10 jobs, or let's say we took the example of 3 machines, right? There are 9 jobs on hand which you need to execute on the same machine. So if you give these 9 jobs to one machine, it has to run one by one. Instead of that, the same 9 jobs have been allocated to 3 machines. At the same time, all the 3 machines execute 3 jobs per machine. So by the same time, all the 9 jobs will be completed. So this is what parallel CPU capacity. So parallelly you can run the jobs and making sure that the job is completed on time. And then virtual resources and virtual organizations for collaboration. So means in this grid computing, don't think that this technology can be implemented only within the walls of a particular organization. I will also show one of the video clip how this grid computing can be leveraged for the computers which are on the globe as well. So as many computers which are scattered across the globe can connect it to one grid, it makes you the people to work remotely. Okay, that is what they are saying, virtual resources and virtual organizations for collaboration. You will understand better this one once I show that example. Access to additional resources, example sharing of bandwidth to do a complex mining. Okay, so this is also self explanatory. And reliability. See, basically, if you need to ensure reliability, that means, so what is meant by reliability? If something happens, there should be some backup to it. So this is how you ensure reliability. One, you can say it never fails, but in real world that can't be given, right? Even computers can fail sometimes. So what are the other ways? You always maintain a backup system. This is how you maintain the reliability part. But due to the grid computing technology, that reliability is already offered, because all these computers are connected to the common grid, right? Even one node fails, the other node still works. Okay, so this is how the reliability is ensured without any additional investment. Then management. What happens in grid computing? There are many computers, and across the globe they all connect, right? So as they are from different locations and different organizations and different security protocols, managing them will give a lot of opportunities. And also this makes even example, if any organization has going for some kind of maintenance, you need not shut down the entire operations, because parallelly there are other set of nodes running on the job. Okay, these are all the benefits of grid computing. Now application areas of grid computing. So these are all the examples of grid computing in which areas currently the grid computing technology have been leveraged. One is civil engineering. to do experimental research to design, execute, analyze and validate different models in earthquake. See, basically to perform this kind of analysis, if you want to do, you need a supercomputer. Example like a supercomputer where it has huge computational capabilities. But can everybody afford a supercomputer? Right? No. So for those people or areas where they can't afford supercomputers, so they can leverage this grid computing technology and get the power of underutilized resources. And even insurance company, when they are mining data from partner hospitals for fraud detection, and then application service provider to offload any excess workload, even scientific research. So this is one of the example I am going to show how in scientific research the grid computing technology have been used, and even in the film industry, where for creating special effects. See, this is not something you need to mug and remember. All these are just remember wherever it requires a very complex computational requirements, you can leverage the grid computing so that you will get the collective power. Okay. I will show, this is what the example I am going to show for the under scientific research, how this grid computing technology have been used.
I'm looking for more effective therapies to treat HIV. My team needs to screen through millions upon millions of chemical compounds. I need lots of computing power to do it, and you can help.
このファイト小児がんプロジェクトは小児がんの新しい薬を見つけるのが目的です。方々の貢献によって成り立っています。一人でも多くの方が参加していただくことによって最先端の研究を少しでも早く進めることができるわけです。
By running my research on World Community Grid, I've been able to screen more than 2.3 million molecules, out of which 35,000 are potential candidates for high-efficient solar cells.
Researchers are using World Community Grid's massive computing power to tackle urgent problems around health, poverty, and sustainability. This computing power, donated by volunteers from around the world, helps researchers complete the equivalent of thousands of years of work in just a few years. But there's still a lot more to do. We need your help. So get started now. Go to worldcommunitygrid.org to connect your computer, smartphone, or tablet, and in just 5 minutes, you could be helping to advance cutting-edge humanitarian research.
It's easy to help. Let's get started now.
See what we have understood from this video. So there is a website called gridcommunity.org where anybody can go and sign up. Example, you have your laptop or a desktop which is idle during night times. You sign up to that organization and offer your resources to join in a grid, a particular grid. They will show there are currently a lot of social causes going on. As in the video shown, one of the doctor wants to check the probability of cancer in diabetic patients. So in order to do this research, he need large computers to do the data analysis, like because there are a lot of data and parameters you need to consider before you come to a particular conclusion. So in order to do that, either he need a supercomputer. Instead of that, individual computers which are spread across the globe and which are not in use in a particular point of time, you can connect, you can offer yourself to the grid. Once your system connected to the grid, the resources, what are all things you offered can be shared. It can be storage or your processing power, like this. We discussed, right, what are the types of resources, your network, or even your software licenses, something based on the need you offer to the grid. So this is how the grid computing technology can be leveraged in scientific researchers. And the last topic, grid computing security. So conceptually it looks very good because it offers so many benefits, but when you are implementing grid computing technology in your organizations per se, what are all the things you need to keep in mind? One is secured single sign-on. I'll take an example to make you understand what is secured sign-on. Basically the short name was SSO. Okay, let's say there is a website. I'm talking from the organization, within an organization, how this security sign-on concept was leveraged. There is an employee, okay, usually he logs into this website to see news about his organization, and in the same website where he can go and check his employee related details, and also what he can does, let's say he can also post some transactions. He is an employee, right? His job is posting some transactions in the ERPs and many other things he can do. So in order to view his employee details, basically all his employee details was stored in an application called PeopleSoft ERP, whereas his ERP was for posting transactions Oracle. There are two different applications he can access. He was supposed to access. So as he has already logged into this website, okay, website, basically you may ask a question, normally to view a website, why somebody has to enter his username and password? This is company's website, right? Basically and especially these kind of sensitive information will not be shown on the public website. I'm talking about intranet site. Okay, let's make it clear. Intranet site, within the organization network only this website can be shown. Outside of the organization you will not be able to see, but again there are other ways through which you can access, like using virtual private networks you can access the intranet site. Okay, so when he logged into the company portal, he clicks on employee personal information, automatically the PeopleSoft application is open, okay, based on his access privileges. He checked all his data and then he closed the application. Now he want to perform his day-to-day job, which is journal posting, and the company is using Oracle application. So again when he click on the application button, automatically Oracle is open subject to his access privileges. Okay, so in this example he logged in only once and able to access multiple applications, but whereas if he don't log into this intranet site, if he want to access this PeopleSoft application, he has to enter one time username and password, and also in order to access Oracle he has to enter one more time username and password. Okay, so instead of that they have given a common platform where they integrate all these internal applications. Okay, I have just taken two of the applications, but basically in the organizations you have so many things that can be accessed from the intranet site. Once the employee authenticates with his username and password, he can access any application without entering his username and password. Okay, so now coming back to our grid computing, as we understood, visualize, like across the globe there are a lot of computers are connected to the grid, and also each computers might have their own set of security protocols, and especially maybe one of the system is trying to access resources from this one network to the another network, and if they are supposed to give their username and password each and every time, it won't make sense. So basically you need to ensure this secured single sign-on concept. Once the computer was authenticated with a particular username and password, then you need not enter again and again the username and password, and it can access the resources across the grid network. And then resource management, this is also very much important. Okay, where you are offering your machine to the grid, you need to ensure that the local jobs are prioritized over system jobs. Means first and foremost you need to ensure your machine is responsible for the local jobs. Once your personal jobs are done, then you can take care of the system jobs. And then data management, this is also very critical, because especially this grid computing concept will be leveraged when you have huge amount of data. So as you have huge amount of data processing, and also the access restrictions, what to be shown, how much to be shown, when to be shown, so all these things, the data management related security controls, you need to be taken care. And then management and protection of credentials, This is also one of the critical point. As many systems are connected, their credential management is very much important. See, when I am offering my laptop for a noble cause, if somebody entered into my laptop and take my personal data, then for sure the whole objective will be collapsed, right? So whoever implementing that grid computing, they should take care of this credentials part as well. I'm giving my laptop only for the no justified resource. They shouldn't get the access what they are not supposed to get. Interoperability with the local security solutions means, as you are connecting with a lot of computers, right? So you should be able to access local resources without any restrictions. That is what they are saying. Interoperability means you should be able to work in any place. That is what interoperability. And then few more points. Standardization. So for sure, as there are many computers and many networks in place, the protocols and the interfaces standardization is a big issue, because see, each resource will have their own set of configuration. So you should be very careful, like whether that data transfer mechanism is going as per the agreed protocol or not. And exportability, the code should also be exportable across the grid, and the communication should also be secured, because many people connected to your grid, so the communication between the systems should be very secured. See, you see, if it happens everything within four walls of an organization, everything will be in your control. But whereas in the grid computing concept, so any computer across the globe can connect to your grid. So when you are allowing some third party machine to access your network, the communication should be very protected, right? If somebody has tampered that communication, they'll get the data access, and even they will damage the entire grid network as well. So the secure group communication is also one of the very important point. And also it should support multiple implementations using private and public key cryptography. Okay, so this is about the grid computing technology. I hope you understood the concept. If you have any questions, you can put it on the comment section in the video. Thanks for watching the video. If you like these kind of videos, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much.